Good morning. So, with regards to the Donald Trump inauguration, as I talked about last month, there's a very popular conspiracy meme. They are going to kill Donald Trump. And what I said at that time was, if something happens, Donald Trump, in my opinion, is in on it because he is their selection. This is not a joke. I am not a libtard. And the very fact that they have mind-controlled aspects of the Trump support base to attack people that are actually independents, that are actually the same kind of people that Hillary Clinton would attack herself. And go back to the tape, listen to that woman attack what she calls, quote, 9/11 conspiracy theorists, and then look at the history of my channel. There you go. That should clear up some confusion. As far as I'm concerned, Hillary and Trump are probably fucking. And I know that this message is not reaching most of you that are buying into dancing with the politicians. When Dances with the Stars and the Kardashians was not palatable for some of you, dancing with the politicians and dreaming of politicians and having daddy back. Just the mere idea of daddy returning after this abandonment that many of you have felt on the left and the right for many, many years. But I've seen how both those of you on the right currently and the left formerly, when Obama was elected, those that turned their back on me because I wouldn't get on board drinking the Obama Kool-Aid, it is the same psychology. I literally speak a same message 8 years apart. You can go back 8 years and you can see fake conspiracy news about Bush and his Obama or October surprise, rather. That's right. George W. Bush, false flag to stay in power. But it really didn't dominate too much, but it did quite a bit in the period leading up to the actual election. And then we moved on to Barack Obama. And then we saw the most outrageous allegations. Instead of just covering his role in the New World Order and his ongoing genocide in the Middle East, we saw people go in a birther, he's a Muslim direction, instead of really expose the crimes of Obama. For example, how many people are aware that Obama dropped 26,000 bombs in 2016? How many liberals or people on the left have any feelings with regards to that? No. They keep it about the health care. They tell you the Muslims are invading. They keep it on this issue and that issue, and the issues keep changing. Issues regarding to judging others and other selfish, instantaneous issues. Oh, free healthcare. Oh, government, big government. Now you have all these people that formerly were for smaller government. They're about to see Donald Trump explode the size of the government in certain areas. But he is announcing that there's going to be a reduction. For those of you that don't know, I do post news at what could be called a pro-Donald Trump site. So even though I'm giving you my opinion, I actually have an occupation that does include furnishing a website with up-to-date headlines, real news, whether I like it or not, regarding Donald Trump and his picks. So if Donald Trump says he's going to reduce the federal budget, I will share that without putting in my commentary because it's news. So just to let those of you know that aren't my regular viewers, I have an ability to look at something as it is without responding to it right away or attacking someone. I can look at something objectively. I can look through an issue in some cases or a person. And so there's something about me that just knows when someone is a deceiver, whether it's someone that I personally know or it's someone on TV. And I liken it to my intuition. There's a reason why I've been independent for many, many years. So it's nothing personal against any particular demographic. However, you'll notice in my other podcasts, I talk about my disdain for the denial of today's American regarding the judgment that is going on, regarding people that look different or might be assumed to be Muslim when in fact they may not even be Muslim at all. They may just have a Islamic last name. Like me, I have an Islamic last name, but I wasn't raised by Muslims and I'm not a Muslim. But you know what? In the day and age of the database based on names, you think I'm going to enjoy feeling targeted later on if there really is some sort of a massive roundup or activation of a database full of names? And could innocent people end up in a database like that? Well, has it happened in the past? And has it happened in this country after 9/11 with a terror watch list? You tell me. So I want to, in this early morning, because there's going to be a lot going on today, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm sure you're looking forward to watching the inauguration, and associates of mine and others, they've been pushing this meme that they're going to kill Donald Trump. And all I am here to do, politely, whether you thumb down or not, is to tell you that I call Donald Trump as a selection. I think that they've created a very sophisticated propaganda machine to where they make it look like the media is against certain candidates, when in reality CNN's not really against Donald Trump. Nor is the media the ultimate enemy. How do we get from looking at the politicians in the New World Order to everything being about burn the media witch hunt? But don't you see how they can flip that on its head and have a quote a fake news witch hunt? So when people attack the media and go fuck the media, don't you realize that just 10 years ago there was a phrase saying don't blame the media, be the media? So if we go around attacking the media and applauding the idea of suing the media, what does that do in the end to the independent media when the politics shift from left to right? And I said during George W. Bush's tenure that even if an angel was in control of certain executive orders, you wouldn't want to give that angel those powers, because those powers could be used by a demon or someone else. Or that angel, someone that you think is an angel, can be taken out of the picture. So let's go back to this Trump conspiracy, and someone else could be put in. Right now what CNN is saying is that a Obama appointee would become the president in the event of a Donald Trump assassination. And then observers are picking up on that are supporting Donald Trump, when they're saying that CNN is actually promoting the assassination of Donald Trump. Now, let's just say that there is some truth to that. Let's say there's some truth to the idea that CNN presented their recent piece in a very bizarre way. This is by design. It'll further play up this role that the media hates Donald Trump and is even trying to play a role in hurting Donald Trump. This furthers that narrative. It cements it in the mind's eye. Now, CNN's been involved in propaganda for years, but most of us know CNN best for its propaganda regarding Bush's so-called war on terror, which was a Republican, not a Democratic president. So yes, the Bushes and the Clintons are linked, but they are not exclusive. There really is crossover with Donald Trump. And you're going to see more of that as Trump appoints former Bush appointees, as we see many pictures between Donald Trump or with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. Pictures, of course, with their clothes on, but many pictures, not just one or two. Indicating that there is a closer relationship than that which they've shown you. And in addition to the prediction that I made about Trump being the New World Order's selection in World War III with China and Russia following, I also predicted that Hillary was going to fall on her sword right before she actually literally fell on ground zero. I made a video on this channel dated a day before she actually fell down, saying that she was going to fall on her sword and throw the fight, because I did not believe that she was actually on the verge of death. I believed, and I used my intuition, I felt that people were being deceived and they were playing up a narrative that Hillary was sick and Hillary was close to death, because that was the disinformation meme that they wanted to put out. So anyone mirroring that meme would see their analytics go up, would see their views go up. Anytime people in the alternative media mirror the talking points they want mirrored, they will see success when it comes to money and fans and subscribers. There is a cost that comes with reporting things as people want them to be reported. So I'm going to stay true to myself. And I'm going to stick to my guns. You know, my warnings about China go back to 2008 and the idea of a stage-managed third world war. And as I told someone in an interview a few months ago when I predicted Trump's selection, this actually back in, must have been back in August. That's right, August of 2016. I said, hey, I've never supported a Democrat. The only evidence of me supporting anyone was Ron Paul in 2008, 2012. There's a big difference between Ron Paul and Donald Trump, and I talked about that in the Golden Rule philosophy and the contrast between Ron Paul and Trump with my friend Kyle Reardon on this YouTube channel. So you can find we did over a dozen podcasts basically on the Donald Trump deception, which we liken to the Obama deception, also the name of a former Alex Jones documentary. or a work of art that he put together. I'm going to go back to this. There are some people that put out some good info about Obama being a servant of the New World Order, and they also added their own spin to it and added in projections and predictions that really border on Obama the Antichrist type of stuff. And I remember when Obama first came on the scene, people, because of his middle name, Hussein, and I mean, obviously, would it not be planned, don't you think, to put someone in power with a Islamic sounding last name like Hussein to scare people after they just had a war in Iraq with a Saddam Hussein? And then this whole Obama the Muslim meme exploded, while Obama actually did very well continuing Bush's legacy of murdering Muslims. But this is not the issue that you hear Trump people discussing, because Trump has his own agenda in mind with regards to the Middle East. And it's really important that, even though some of you are resistant to some of this information, that I keep speaking and I keep sharing my ideas on this. Because we're going to be looking back on the things that I said. And we're already looking back on the things that I said. You know, I'll be showing clips here and there for those with a knee-jerk reaction thinking I'm a libtard, showing me megaphoning in 2008 or 2009, the National Guard or military recruiters standing up against this system and warning of a similar message then as I am now, showing one thing you can say about Alex Ansary, even if you don't like my message: I am damn consistent. That's why I'll play that clip. And I'm mentioning now again, first they stage a terror attack, then we become a police state, then you have an economic collapse, then you have a third world war. And there are others that have warned about these steps, and they've warned against this blind hope and fear or hatred of certain candidates. That's all show. That's all for the masses. The real agenda that's crushing over the rights, that's crushing over people's freedoms, that's crushing over people's lives. And while your guns may matter as well, it's not just, you know, a tank driving over your guns. You still have your guns. For those of you that lived through the Obama administration, he didn't take your guns. He did take us deeper into debt. He did kill more Muslims. He did fulfill his role as a servant of them. Did some of the conspiracies that some of you dabbled in actually help you bring accountability to Barack Obama in some way, shape, or form? Or anyone for that matter? Or was it truly mental masturbation this last 8 years with you and the computer and these websites? And the truth is, not only has technology replaced our relationships, it's become the revolution. Facebook years ago, the main purpose of it, other than surveillance, was to get you to put out your angst regarding Obama and other things and Monsanto, and for you to take the protest from an actual place to a screen, and then for that same internet to put out disinformation that Soros pays every single protester, to get you in that mindset, to get you in that state of hatred towards your fellow American if they're not getting down and supporting Donald Trump and worshiping the man, whether you want me to use sexual innuendo or not. But you know what? It's almost as if people want to get down and service Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and other people of their ilk. It's this inclination to worship and serve the king, to welcome the king back, the return to the king symbolism. And because of the trauma induced by the Clintons, by Bush, by Obama, but not limited to them, but I'm just listing like our last presidents leading up to this point, a certain segment of the population has been salivating for the return of the king on a subconscious, instinctual level, the return of the king. And for anyone that doesn't also want to worship the king, they're not worthy of life. They're not worthy of citizenship, even if they were born here. This is why you see people saying things that they never said before during Bush and Obama. If you don't love it, leave it. What kind of talk is this? Now, typically, that was something they would hear from neocon military supporters if you were supporting or not supporting the actions of the military in Afghanistan or Iraq. They were the ones that would say that. The neocons, the warmongers, the war hawks. This is their language. Libtard, idiot, bum. Well, you don't like Donald Trump? It's the same attitude that people threw at those that didn't support George Bush's initial launch into war. in that period of 2001, 2002, 2003. And we're coming up on a very similar cycle. And so when you hear me also talk about the solar cycles and the political influence, the war influence, there's somewhere where I'm going with that. And we're at a very similar point in the cycle as we were in 9/11. Now we're going to solar minimum. And I'll be brief on this. During solar minimum, there are less protests. During solar maximum, there are more protests, or more things like Occupy. And there are ways that the elite adjust things in certain ways to when they want the protests and don't want the protests. In this period, they don't want you protesting big time. Now, the media, yes, the media will play things up for civil unrest, but to the point where there really is an epiphany. Or do they want to see aspects of the Donald Trump come to the agenda, come to fruition? Meaning assassination of Donald Trump is not on the table, but that is the meme that they are pushing. But I'm not saying that it's not outside the realm of possibility that this will be announced, because we see the mainstream media and the Alex Joneses of the world getting behind this narrative. Again, it's not the first time we've seen a narrative of a theory that the president is going to do something criminal to stay in power. So, by the way, conspiracy theory, or the idea of a conspiracy, has also been brought out. And we see Tom Hartman and people on the left that used to laugh at others. I'm not going to defend Alex Jones, but for a while, Alex Jones was the only point man they would talk to. And there was a reason for that, whether they knew that or not at the time. And Alex Jones should never be considered a leader of anything, but someone that is sabotaging the independent media. The alternative media is really a slant even on what it is to begin with. That's why I'm hashtag free media over here. I'm over here now. I'm doing my own thing with very few other peers speak in a similar tune. There is, by the way, Richie from Boston, a few others. There's a few others on YouTube. They're growing, but you're going to see it. They are the smallest YouTubers and the smallest voices, those that are dissenting against Donald Trump. It's not profitable to speak against the king. Now, when you really understand Google Analytics, because you either run a website or run a YouTube channel, and I do, there's certain periods where it's very profitable to speak for or against certain people. There really is a market within conspiracy theory. It's been monetized. And I don't have a problem with that. People should make money off of what they do. In fact, I subscribe to a number of channels, but I was going to say, for those of you that subscribe to this channel, there's ways you can support what I do. And I'm thinking of other platforms beyond YouTube. But it's important to be honest. And it's important to be true to yourself and to not flip-flop. What I see we are in the age of the flip-flopper. This used to be like a commonly used term a while back, but not so commonly used now. Flip-flopping. It's people that are anti-establishment, going left-right paradigm, including Alex Jones, showing the Republican and Democratic parties being represented as Roman pillars, both upholding a pyramid. And I believe this was a segment in the In-Game documentary, which came out in 2007. I actually had Alex on my show at that time. We talked about In-Game. He certainly did not like the question about what his thoughts were on Israel, which I saved for the end of the interview. And the defensiveness. And I was just looking for an honest, well, here is my stance. Let's just end all the controversy now. And so now we see the Donald Trump-Israel association and an Alex Jones-Israel connection as well. You know, an anti-Middle Eastern and what one could call anti-real Semitic. And are those even the real Jews? Many say that's not the case, but rather Eastern Europeans masquerading as Jews that are using Israel as a place to enslave the Middle East. And we look at a real Holocaust. We look at Afghanistan. That's right. We look at Afghanistan. We look at Iraq. We look at the things that have been done to other countries before 9/11, but especially since 9/11. And we see another Holocaust that is more or less underreported. Shouldn't that be like what Donald Trump's going to give a speech about? That, wait a minute, if you're against Obama and you're against Bush, would you not then be also against what they're doing, what they've done? Now, I don't agree with Ron Paul saying no wonder why they hate us. There's plenty of immigrants from the Middle East that don't hate Americans, even though they're from countries in which Americans have killed their own people. I know this sounds unbelievable to you, But there are many, like, say, Afghan immigrants that came here a long time ago that see themselves as different than the other Afghans that have been left behind. They're elitists in their own way. I know because my father is one of them. And so there are many people that immigrated here a really long time ago that serve the U.S. government because of a sense of allegiance, because of the previous conflict with Russia, where the U.S. was allied with Afghanistan and they were fighting the Russians. Then, of course, whether you're dealing with an American, an Hispanic, an Asian, or a person of Middle Eastern descent, a lot of humans will just suck the tit off whatever establishment or army is in control at that moment. And this is a plight of mankind. And so it could be said that my father and my grandfather served the establishments of their day and age. With my grandfather, you have the Russian invasion. He was somewhat of a diplomat within the capital in Afghanistan. And so instead of mujahideen, you were dealing with someone that was aiding and abetting the Soviet invaders. See, the thing is, the reason I bring up Afghanistan, a lot of you really just don't realize some of these countries have been destabilized by design by Russia and the United States. And there are some ways in which those nations have worked together to hurt those people. And so I'm going to end this point here. What if we showed compassion? What if we actually did believe in the golden rule? What if you actually did educate yourself about 9/11? What if you actually saw how nonsensical it is to say that Donald Trump is a 9/11 truther while he demonizes the Syrian people? And how many Syrian terrorists have you seen attacking American cities and other things of that nature? And was Alex Jones correct when he said that it was Syrian immigrants that raped a 3-year-old girl in Idaho? And it came out those were not Syrian immigrants. And so when you have disinformation like this, why not ask yourself, why are these groups being targeted? Why are these supposed truthers and independent, anti-New World Order, anti-globalism speakers, talk show hosts, candidates, why are they so linked together, so wealthy, so powerful, and why are they walking lockstep in this fascistic direction? So I don't think at all that there's going to be a genuine attack on Donald Trump. But if something is reported, Donald Trump is more than likely going to be a part of it, and he'll be there with Hitler and others that supposedly died of mysterious circumstances, which more than likely were relocated. But it's going to be a bad sign if something like that happens, as well as war with Russia and war with China. Whoever you are told to believe is to blame, you should know that Alex Ansary, the man you're listening to, called it as far back as 2008. And so you should want to look at what I talked about 5 years ago. Vintage Alex Ansary. Because unlike other people in the alternative media, it's not like bouncing from one thought to another, random. However, I was more influenced by the content that was posted at InfoWars during that period. And so, were there things that I think Alex put out that were fake in 2008 and 2009? And I suspected then that he had a connection with the government to be the point man to report on the National Guard riot control drill. He would be like the main announcer. While the media did not talk about it, Alex Jones would. And there would be these headlines from Northcom that I would re-report saying, massive drill for the election, 200,000 troops, domestic. They're getting ready for something big. And you'd hear me say it. You'd hear Alex say it. You'd hear the others say it. They're getting ready for martial law. They're getting ready to keep Bush in office. We're going into martial law. Even though Obama's a puppet, they may not let... But I wasn't thinking that they were going to do that. I called that correctly as well. Obama, the president, blind worship. Here we are 8 years later, and we're going through the same thing again. But they're saying, no, it's not the same thing again. He's not Obama 2.0, promising change we can't believe in. This time it's real. And they sit there and they say it with starry eyes. This time it's real. And you're sitting there shaking them going, no, it's not. I was right. He's been placed there to start and instigate economic policies and other foreign policies that will lead us to war with China and Russia. And in the end, my 2008 forecast, check out that video with Leon Lagon, man forecasted Chinese-Russian invasion in the United States. By 2025, foreign troops on U.S. soil. Russian, Chinese, and their allies. That could include Iranians and North Koreans working with cartel groups in a white slavery operation. So I've taken my endgame forecast to a level that no other man has. And also transhumanism and self-driving cars, all that following as they rebuild the infrastructure, as they create a new world order to bring Americans to their knees, even as far as to take the microchip when the Chinese bring it. So a lot of you aren't even close to this type. And we look at Alex Jones inverting reality. He used to talk about foreign troops. He'll talk about foreign troops if they're Mexican or dark skin or South American, if it's Russian, if it's Chinese. Now, the Chinese thing, he's going to play up a conflict. He's already starting to see that China is hacking into his computers. Trump's going to lead us into a conflict with China. So I'm going to wrap up my thoughts here. We're more than likely going to see this conflict with China and Russia arise out of the Trump presidency. Even if Trump hands it to someone else in 2020, he will start into motion certain things. When you see people that are wrong over and over and over again, when they didn't call Trump as the president, when they called Hillary, when they said that Google and the internet, major websites hated Trump and loved Clinton, we have debunked that as well. Zuckerberg is very much pro-Trump and pro-fake news, the opposite of what you're being told. Unless you're actually doing an investigation into the fake news, demonizing all Middle Eastern immigrants, and seeing how Facebook was critical on that and pushing that talking point, and how that's aligned with the nationalistic, you can even call it alt-right, but we don't have to, because that term apparently is so offensive to so many. But there really is a subsection of alternative media, or alleged independent libertarian thought that's gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, that has the cognitive dissonance that can support a Ron Paul and then support a Donald Trump. To be supposedly anti-one thing and anti-imperialism and anti-Federal Reserve and anti-this and anti those that would toy with the free market, meaning anti-bailouts. Anti-bailouts. So if it was wrong when Obama did it, is it going to be wrong when we see the Donald Trump? And that's another prediction of mine. It's like that Simpsons episode with the car, some sort of a car thing, whether it be Tesla, whether it be GM, whether it be Ford. Something that costs a lot of money is all about bringing jobs back home. And then the cost of that program doing something detrimental that costs a great deal. That's the intuition that I'm picking up on. Something big that leads to other things. So if this guy's going to roll the die and we're going to have a currency war, I won't even say that Donald Trump's going to make things great again for some people for a while. It might even take a few years. All this is borrowed money. The stock market is an illusion. The idea of erasing the national debt to a certain degree is even an illusion. If you go deeper into debt by selling chunks of land behind the scenes. Obama has already done this. And so the reality is you're probably going to see Obama slap the back of Donald Trump to be in line with my projection and prediction in a literal sense. Not just a handshake, but like a heartfelt back slap, like you're my bro. I verbalized this prediction 10 times because I want you to see, as these predictions come true, that the other things that I've talked about are not so far off the map. So I'll be back later in the day with more information. Enjoy the Trump inauguration coverage and all the James Bond suspense, JFK-like ambiance that's going to go with it. Signing off here, Alex Ansary, January 20th, 2017.